Hi, it's Dana with the Arts Partnership, and I'm really excited today to have Jonathan Rutter with me from the Rourke Art Museum because you have a great big event coming up, Jonathan, which is, I think, one of the great staples in the community. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm well too, thanks. I can't complain about anything. Jonathan, tell us what's coming up.
Well, this weekend on the 18th, we are going to be having the preview for our big annual exhibit. It's the Midwestern,
Yep.
entering its 63rd iteration. So, for those of you who don't know about the Midwestern, it's something we do to celebrate the opening of the Rourke back in June of 1960. We invite all kinds of artists to come and exhibit work around a theme. And this year's theme is Familiar Lands and Foreign Gates, the Hero's Journey.
What a great theme, Jonathan.
Well, thanks. I mean, doing a different theme each year kind of keeps mixing things up and keeps things interesting. We like giving artists, a fresh challenge every year.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I always say that if you really want to see what an artist can do, give them a little constraint. Not didactic, but give them something to use as sort of a foundational start point, and then you will see where their brain can take it and interpret it. And that's such a gift.
Oh yeah, it's our opportunity to see creativity unleashed.
Absolutely. So how many submissions did you get and how many pieces are in the show, Jonathan?
We got 90 this year,
Wow.
which is about average. Some
Okay.
years we see fewer than that. Back in the early 90s, it's incredible because, of course, back then we were exclusively in the old gallery house on South 4th Street.
Okay.
We saw upwards of 130 entries back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so 90 pieces. How many get selected?
Uh, all the pieces are in the show.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yep, the way the Midwestern works, it's an invitational, so it's a little different than some
Oh,
jury
that's right. I'm
exhibits.
sorry. I
Uh,
forgot that.
as long as the artists respond to the invitation, they're in the show.
Okay.
The what makes it competitive after the art arrives, we do select awards.
Mhm.
And this year, the awards are going to be selected by a couple of local legends, Joel Hagerly and
Okay.
Susan Morrissey, are going
Oh,
to collaboratively choose the winners this year.
well, that's kind of my favorite moment because what I really love when I'm there for the announcement is I really love to hear what makes artists choose artists' work.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, I mean, anytime a peer selects you, it feels very different than if it's someone who has come in from outside the community or someone who is not a maker in a traditional sense. So I really love to hear that explanation of what makes them choose the pieces that are ultimately awarded your prizes.
Oh,
And you can tell that artists also feel that additional privilege of having a peer select their work.
you bet. Yeah, and it's interesting to see. I think we make some assumptions about artists' leanings or proclivities based on their own work, but it's often surprising to see what they gravitate towards in their award selections.
I would agree with that because I think I've often seen artists who might, be a watercolorist or something. You think, oh, well, that's the medium that they're most comfortable in. And you're right. I've often seen them pick something that's three-dimensional or something that's totally out of the realm of what we know them for. So
Yeah.
that's delightful. Okay, so I won't ask you to pick a favorite piece, Jonathan. That's like asking a parent to pick a favorite child. But were there pieces this year that you opened up and were just delighted by? Anything you want to talk about? And if you don't want to name anything, you don't have to.
Well, we have the nice problem this year. This is granted, I think I say this every year, but truly, I think people really went above and beyond with this theme. The work, I think, on average, while in terms of scale, none of it's record breaking, but on the average, I think we're seeing pieces around 10 inches larger in both
Okay.
dimensions for 2D work.
Wow.
So we're seeing some big art this time around. So we're having to do a little bit of creative hanging, which is okay.
Well, because you're an artist yourself, Jonathan, that's kind of an interesting constraint for you.
Yes.
I mean, I know that's not the kind, you're not a hanging artist, you're a visual artist, but clearly you've gotten very comfortable hanging in your time at the Rourke.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But to go back to your actual question, golly, we've got there. One of the works that really surprised me, Jim Park teaches at MSUM
Okay.
and has done. mm, I've known Jim since I was an undergraduate at the college, and I've always known him to do these very ethereal oil pastel pieces,
Oh, okay.
typically small in scale. But this year, Jim did a uh, photorealistic oil painting around 5 feet by 5 feet, and it's
Oh my gosh.
an incredible kind of fisheye view of this imagined scene, and people are just going to have to come down and see it.
Well, that's spectacular.
Yeah.
I have to put this quote up. So Emily Williams Wheeler is commenting on the mug because it's an Emily Williams Wheeler mug.
See,
So we're having kind of a meta moment here, Jonathan.
good.
It is a nice mug, Emily. Okay, so you're looking at pieces that are perhaps significantly larger on average than you've typically expected. You're seeing
Yes.
some works showing up from artists who the community might think they understand is this kind of artist, and they're turning that on its head. Anything else that has surprised you about the submissions?
Well, in this day and age, when we put out the subtitle of the theme to help direct people at Joseph Campbell and archetypes and the idea of the monomyth, I, I thought with the hero tag in there that we'd get more folks responding, with what contemporary culture understands as heroes. So maybe some folks responding to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is on all media. But surprisingly, folks were a lot more literary and mythological. Maybe not surprisingly. Maybe not surprisingly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. We've sort of redefined hero because film is so ubiquitous and because those characters have crossed every genre now. You don't have to be a Marvel fan to be able to talk with some knowledge about those characters because they have just become part and parcel of our culture. So that is interesting that people sort of took the classical approach maybe as opposed to the contemporary.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got multiple instances of figures from Greek myth, Norse myth, Chinese and Native American folklore and storytelling. And well, some folks, I think, kind of internalized the idea of the hero's journey and pointed to heroes in their own lives. Which,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
So, Jonathan, how do you pick this theme every year? Because every year it's such an unusual theme. I feel like you rarely go for something like, love. It's usually got a little bit of a slightly creative bent to it. How do you do that?
Well, I think they used to be a little more straightforward back in the 70s. We had flower one year. We
Okay.
had mother and child, but you know, I don't know. It's interesting. I think James O'Rourke really set a high bar for off the wall themes like the first year I worked here, it was Art in the Age of Spiritual Machines. I have no
Wow.
idea what that means, but it's extremely evocative when you start to consider its
Sure.
potential implications.
Wow. Yeah, that feels a little dystopic almost.
Could be, definitely be, yeah. This year's theme was originally conceived as a backup proposal to last year's jurist,
Okay.
Kathleen Ristonen. We suggested On the Autobiographical Impulse and Familiar Lands and Foreign Gates to her. The Autobiographical Impulse was suggested because Kathleen's personal work is very much involved in telling her own family's story. And Familiar Lands and Foreign Gates, Kathleen is a Finnish American, and Familiar
Oh.
Lands and Foreign Gates are taken from a passage of the great Finnish epic, the Kalevala, which is
Oh.
an epic poem that was collected, I believe, in the 19th century as part of the effort to, forge a sense of national identity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm learning things left, right, and center today, Jonathan. Thank goodness we're having this conversation.
But other years, sometimes the folks selecting awards pick out the theme for
Mhm.
themselves. When this this it's amazing how wonderful happenstance, circumstance, it's things that arise out of serendipity. A few years ago, let's see, must have been 2019. We were seated with Dan and Julia Jones at the
Mhm.
Midwestern that year, and I said, "Hey, Dan, you've never judged the Midwestern before, have you?" He said, "No, I have not. Would you like to do it next year?"
He said, yes, I would, didn't he?
Did not even miss a beat. And I said, "Well, we do give judges the option of selecting the theme for themselves." And later on during the conversation, Julia I forget what the particular circumstances were in the conversation, but she happened to let slip the phrase "in your own skin." And Dan said, "Wait a minute,
Yep.
here it is."
Yeah.
So yeah, we arrive at the theme all kinds of different ways.
That's delightful. Okay, give us the particulars, Jonathan. When can the public come? How should we get involved? Where can we get tickets? All the kinds of things, the who, what, where, when, how, and whys.
Okay, so we do the Midwestern preview on the 18th of June every year. Uh, it is open to the public, but you do have to purchase tickets. Tickets will be available at the gate. We will be open from 1 to 3 tomorrow for those who want to pop by and pick up advance tickets.
Okay.
It's $15 for museum members, $30 for non-members. Otherwise, we will be open Sunday afternoon on the 19th for folks who aren't able to make the Saturday night event from 5:30 to 7:30, although I'd highly recommend it.
It's a really fun night. I highly recommend it as well.
Well, thank you. Yep. And, I realize it looks like it's going to be a cooker this weekend. So if you just want to stay hunkered down in your basement bunker and stay cool, don't worry. We're going to keep the art around through Labor Day weekend, and we're open 1 to 5 p.m. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, admission free.
But the art is for sale.
This is correct. Yes. So there is a certain imperative to come early.
Yep.
If you are shopping.
Yes.
There's a lot of great art to choose from.
And I will say it is a very different show because and I can't believe I asked you how you select the art. For goodness sakes, I know this. I just wasn't thinking. But what makes this show fun is that if you're invited, whatever you produce gets hung up. So it's a very eclectic show, despite the fact that it has a theme, because as you said, the interpretation of the theme is sometimes not at all clear, sometimes abundantly clear, and sometimes you get the opportunity to read what the artist was thinking. And it's just like one of those, and you realize, oh my gosh, I never would have gotten that. But now that I know it, it's so transparent, which is lovely. So it's a great opportunity to see sometimes a very different side of the artists who are often well known in the region. And it's just a really fun way to engage with artists in a new and unexpected way, I think. I think that's what makes the event so great.
You bet. Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, thanks for joining me. I'm going to let you go back because I know you are busy hanging all that great big art.
That is correct, but it'll all be on the walls, lit and labeled by 5:30 p.m. on Saturday.
On Saturday. So I will see you there. Everybody else, I hope to see you there as well. Dress coolly. This is not the time to decide you need a three-piece suit.
No wool suits. That's right.
All right. I'll see you Saturday, Jonathan. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.